Okay, so welcome back to my channel. Okay, this is going to be a quick recap. I keep saying this. I always say it's going to be quick. It's going to be a recap of Absentia Season 1, Episode 5. So, obviously it's the day after, or I think it's probably just later in the same evening, after Adam is killed and Emily is still on the run. So, she actually goes to Dr. Vega's office. He's locking up for the day. She shows up because she's really trying to remember this connection, her memories with the bleeding eye or some such stuff. So, of course, she's kind of frantic after everything that has happened. Dr. Vega is looking at her like, yeah, I was about to go home for the evening. What the hell is wrong with you? Why are you here? She, forces him back into his office. She ties him to the chair, and she pulls out her file because she's trying to see if she's mentioned anything in her sessions about the bleeding eye. He tells her no. And then he tries a technique with her. Even though he's tied to the chair, he's still trying to help her. And I think he's basically trying to keep her calm, because she did have a loaded gun with her that she placed on the desk strategically in front of him. But she, at his request, she so kindly removed. But so basically, he was just trying to get her to relax and to breathe and to focus on her memories. And then she remembered that as a child in the orphanage, I think it's some park near where she lived, where the orphanage was, and there was actually a tree with this eye carved into it. And so after she, her memories started to come back to her, he was actually interested. Okay, so what did you remember? And of course, she didn't want to tell him because she knew that by law he would have to notify the police where she was going to go. And of course, she's still on this mission to prove that she's innocent and still trying to find out who kidnapped her. So basically, she was like, okay, the cleaning crew will be here soon. So she knew he wasn't going to be there all night. So she went ahead and left him there. So flashback, it's like in the morning time. Tommy and Nick are still at the crime scene. They're just now taking Adam's body away. They're processing the scene. And, Nick thanked Tommy for helping. Nick was basically trying to explain, I really wanted to bring her in alive if I could. And Tommy basically said, well, so much for that. Because, now she's suspected of killing not just an FBI agent, but the head of the Boston office. So, I mean, at this point, you're getting the feeling that she's on borrowed time at this point. So, we're back at the FBI office. I think it's Crown, if I remember from the first episode, Crown of all people was selected to kind of stand in until they find someone permanently to take over for Adam. So, of all people, the first person he accused, right? Nick accused. So, Crown was on the phone with someone, and he didn't say who it was. But based on their conversation, I don't see... the thing about the show is that there are so many people who are iffy, kind of suspect, right? And so his conversation was like, no, I haven't... he was basically saying, yes, I'll take care of that. I said I would take care of that. I said I would take care of that. So you're kind of like, what is going on with him? Who is he talking to? But of course, they didn't tell you. And so Nick walks in, and Nick basically asked him if he was fired. Nick asked Crown if he was fired, and Crown kind of looked at him like, what do you think? And so Crown asked why he thought that he could understand why she killed Samarov, because it was the guy she was investigating, and he could understand why she killed Harlow, because I think that at some point they did believe that he was connected to her disappearance. But she was like, why did she attack Adam? And so Nick ended up telling him, which I'm like, damn, Nick, why'd you tell? But anyway, you don't know who to trust. But he just basically went down, ran down the story about why I'm assuming because he closed the office door, and it just leads you to believe that he told. You don't really know what he told him. You just assume that he told him everything. And so Crown, I think, had his own motives. He's kind of sketchy. I don't really know right now where he fits in, but he basically told him that he wanted him to be the point of contact for BPD, Boston PD, and basically he wants him to work directly with Tommy to bring Emily in. And he basically told him that your loyalty is not to Tommy, it's to me. No more secrets. I want to know what the hell is going on at all times, basically. And so, Nick agreed. I'm not sure. Like I said, Crown is kind of iffy. He was like, you know, and your accusations about Adam, we're going to keep that under wraps for now. And once we bring Emily in, we'll go to Eternal Affairs together, which is, I think, is some bullshit. Like, I think that Emily and Nick is going to end up with a bullet in the head. But like I said, I just get that feeling from Crown. Like, I ain't trusting him, and I'm not really trusting Ericsson either. But and I've only seen her a couple of times on screen, but it's something about her too that's kind of iffy. But moving on. So you flash to Allison is at home, and she's just taking a pregnancy test. And so based on her facial expression, you could just imagine that it's positive. So now with all this stuff going on, she finds out that she's pregnant. So she's sitting there watching the news, and this is where she learns about Adam being killed. And of course, Emily is the main suspect. So Nick walks in, and she's like, "Oh my God, is Adam really dead? Is she really, you know, is she really responsible for this?" And he basically had to tell her, "Yeah, like, you know, it's my fault. Whatever happens at this point, it's my fault." And he basically brushed past her to go take a shower. So while he was in the shower, she walks in, and she's like, "Okay," because you could tell she was afraid to ask the question, because she really didn't want to know the answer, but then she did. So she asked him, like, "Did you sleep with her that night? You know, the night that she got away, did you sleep with her that night?" And he really didn't have to say anything. His silence said it all. And, you know, she asked, "So are you still in love with her?" And he said that there's a part of him that will always be in love. There's a part of her that will always love her. And I'm like, Nick, you really make me fucking sick, man. I mean, like I said, that's only so much understanding you could expect somebody to have. And so, you know, she, you know, walks off. He stayed in the shower, and she went into Flynn's room, and she kind of got into bed with Flynn. And she kind of, you know, he's asleep. Obviously, it's late at night, and she just kind of laid there, and she put her arms around him, like, almost like, you know, she knew that. I don't know. She got at this point, she already has her mindset that she's not going to stay. I don't know, but I mean, that's basically where that ended. That's just so freaking sad and trifling, man. So, Emily is on, you know, she's on her, trying to get to this park where this tree is located. And so she's at she went to the bus depot to get a bus ticket, and there, you know, they have TV, so she's all covered up. She got the hoodie on and everything, so people can't see her, but she can see the news story, and then basically they're running the story about Adam and, you know, her involvement. And so, you know, she bought the ticket. The guy told her how long it was going to be for the next bus, how long the bus ride is. It's going to be like 4 hours, and of course she's like, "What, 4 hours?" He's like, "Yeah, we hit every stop." So she got the ticket, and then she what else did she do? So she got the ticket, and then for whatever reason she called Nick. And so of course Nick is like, "You need to come home, you need to come back, we need to fix this. Like, this is crazy, things are going too far." And she's basically saying no. She was like basically trying to warn him. That was her reason for calling. Like, whoever's been following me and killing these people, now they know about you and Tommy. I'm assuming that's because she said you guys are in danger. So I don't know if she was referring to him and Tommy or him and Allison and Flynn. Like, you know, you need to watch your back. And he's like, you know, he basically at this point is just, you know, I think he's at this point he's at his wits end. He's had it. Like, you've come back, you've mucked up my life. My career is hanging by a thread, even though she didn't do it by herself. I mean, Nick, you kind of went along for the ride. So, but then he was just trying to convince her to come back. And she was saying that, you know, she told him that she couldn't because she was getting close. And he said, the only thing you're getting close to basically is a bullet in the head. Like, at this point, people are out for blood. You've killed one of their own. And so, nobody's thinking about the fact that you used to be one of them. Right now, you're just a murderer. So, I need you to come in so I can come back so I can take you in. So we could try to fix whatever we can fix. And she basically told him no, and she hung up. And so Nick called Tommy. I'm assuming it was Tommy. Couldn't really tell from the voice, and to let him know that she had called. And I mean, then she got on the bus and was on her way. And so Tommy and Jack went to no, actually Jack was over at his father's house. And he was basically trying to convince his father, you know, if she calls you, called the police, turn her in. Of course, her father is pissed. Like, as far as he's concerned, she can do no wrong in his eyes. And, there's also this, this animosity that he has for Emily. Because I think he kind of felt when they adopted her that she kind of took his place in some sense in the family. So I don't really know. But you can tell there's a lot of anger and resentment between that Jack has towards his father. And so he's basically telling her that she had killed Adam. And, of course, he doesn't believe it. Even though he used to be a cop, and it's like, he's a father. At this point, his cop brain is on the hiatus, and he's the father. And so it's difficult for him to see the evidence that's in front of him. So he said that she's your sister, and she wouldn't do that. Basically, he's like, you know what? I don't care what they're saying. She didn't do it. And Jack basically said, maybe I know him better. Maybe I know her better than you do. And then he accuses Jack of running over there. Like, he felt like Jack had ulterior motives of coming over to tell him. Like, he felt like Jack went to tell him about the murder. Basically, to gloat for some reason. He felt like that's what Jack was doing. Like, you came over here to tell me this just to hurt me. And basically, he threw him out. He said, yeah, you should just go and celebrate, because I said you've been drinking anyway. And Jack was like, it's always been you and her against the world. And Jack begs his father. His parting words, but just basically begging his father, if she contacts you, just call the police. Just don't get any more involved than you already are. And so we're at the briefing. Of course, Crown is leading, kind of updating all the agents and assigning everybody their task. And he's letting them know that, that he's basically reassuring them that it doesn't appear that anybody else is a target. So basically, she went to Adam for a specific reason. Dr. Vega mentioned that she may have multiple personalities, and Nick was like, well, why do you think that? And he said, well, he said that she made mention of the killer being hot on her heels. So in her mind, she could be the murderer and the investigator. And so Tom was like, that's a bunch of bullshit. How do you even know something like that? And how would you even diagnose that? Why wouldn't you, if all the time you spent with her, why wouldn't you already know that? And Dr. Vega was like, well, because unless the other personality presents itself, there's no way for me to know that. There's no way for you to know unless the other personality presents itself. Basically, Tommy ain't buying it. In his mind, she's a murderer. She's guilty. And he don't want to hear nothing else about it. When Dr. Vega said that, you can see Nick's mind like turning almost like he's now, like he's been offered a reason to not excuse her behavior, but it's... Nick is just, he's having a difficult time. Like, like, it's okay to still support and think she's innocent based on it. Like, oh, well, it could be something that she's doing, but it's not her fault. It's something that's not in her control. Basically, Cohen said the most important thing now is he want everybody just to bring her in. And Dr. Vega mentioned about the childhood, how he helped her recover her memory. And it's something about the eye. He told about the tree and the eye. And then basically now they're on a hunt to find this location. So after, actually, I think, did that happen before or after? I think that happened before they went. I'm jumping around some. That happened before they went to see the father. So, because the parting words of the father was basically go and talk. They mentioned Jack, and they was basically like, go. He was like, yeah, why don't you go over and talk to that traitor? Because now he sees Jack as a traitor. So they go over to Jack's place, and no, they go over to they go to the father's place first. Sorry, I'm getting some stuff mixed up. And basically, the father is extremely mad at Nick, it came out that he was like, what kind of man are you? She was out there somewhere for 6 years, and you stopped looking after one. So you're no kind of man. That's not something that a man would do. I would have never stopped looking if it was me. So he really hates the hell shit out of Nick at this point, because he felt like he gave up on her and he left too soon, and he just kind of left her out there. And it says blames Nick, and Nick was basically and that's when And that's when they, they mentioned Jack. Do you think Jack knows anything? And he's like, why don't you go over and talk to that trader? Da, 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 da. So they went over to Jack's place, and he's there drinking. And they was kind of asking him if he remembers anything about a park and this tree with the eye. And he was like, basically, I don't remember anything about, this tree, or I don't remember anything about that park. I was a kid. I don't remember much about anything. And he starts talking. He was like, so what is your relationship, or what's the relationship between your father and Emily? He was like, oh, well, she was the son he never had. So Shay, like, you could. Jack has a lot of anger issues towards him, Emily and his father. He feels like I said, he feels like once she came into the picture that he basically didn't exist anymore. And so he said that, she would always threaten to run away. And Nick, I think it was Nick that asked. Nick said, well, I never knew that. And I think he said, did she ever do? And he said, no. And he was basically like, that was just her way. I feel like that's was just her way of getting attention. Like before, but he said it's always been the Emily show. So it seems like Emily has been this manipulative person for a very long time. You can kind of get that feeling. And so he mentioned something about her obsession or love for Robin Hood. And so Nick starts doing search, and he finds out that there's a park called Nottingham Park. And so they was like, oh, okay, so we're hiding. So they end up leaving. They thanked him. And he was like, oh, okay. So they go on. And he flashed to Emily. She's actually there. She made it there. She's looking through the woods. It's pitch black outside. She has this flashlight. And it's like she's walking through these trees. And it's like each one of these trees have eyes carved in them. And so it was almost like she was looking for something in particular. And she came across this particular tree. And by this particular tree, there was something there. So she starts digging. It's a skeleton. Somebody was buried there. And it was like she went right to it, so she almost knew that it was there. And so she pulled something out, which at the time I couldn't figure out what it was. But next thing you know, Tommy and Nick shows up with the state trooper, and you can see their lights. So she sees their lights, and of course she takes off running. They never see her at this point. And so she further in, and they see where she was, where she dug, and they're like, okay, now. It's like every time she's around, there's a dead body somewhere. So they find the skeleton, and of course now they've called other people so they have to process the scene as to who this was and what's going on out here. A deputy or state trooper yells out eventually that he got her tracks. And so you see her, she runs until she can't run anymore. She comes to this lake, and I don't know how wide this lake is, but she ends up swimming across this lake and going to a truck stop where she finds a truck that's unlocked. I don't know too much about trucking, but I wouldn't think that truckers would leave their truck unlocked like that. But she was it was unlocked. She got in there because she was looking for a phone. So he left his cell phone in the cabin. So she called the hospital. I think it was a pacemaker. And so because she asked for the pulmonary or cardiologist wing or something, so she's trying to get, based on a serial number, the name of the person who was in the grave, who this pacemaker belonged to. And basically the person they transferred it to was like, oh, okay, well, I can forward you the documents, the request forms. And of course she's like, oh, well, we really need this information right away. And basically that woman was like, it's against federal regulation for me to do that. I can send you these damn forms and you can sign this shit and you send them back to me. That's the only way you get the information you need. So of course they hang up and she's pissed, but whatever. So she gets out the truck to leave, but at that point she sees that the state troopers are there. They pulled in, and so now they're setting up like a perimeter. She sees Nick directing people where to go, like where to search, what areas to search, what to do, right? And so she ends up going into the back of the truck because the person who owns the truck came to get back in the truck, and these cabins have beds in the back, and so she's back there hiding. So now she's stuck. He cranks the thing up and he hits the road, right? But then all of a sudden, he stopped. I got the feeling that he knew that somebody was in there. Because he stopped. It wasn't too long after he cranked the truck up and was driving that he stopped. And then I'm thinking, okay, so he got out. And she kind of waited for a little while. And I guess she was, thinking that if he, giving him some time to get away from the truck so she could sneak out. Next thing you know, he pulls that curtain back and shoves a shotgun in her damn face. I'm like, oh, hell. So he basically like, you need to tell me who the hell you are and why the hell you're in my truck. You need to tell me right now. So that's basically how this episode ends. And yeah, I'm just like, you know, at this point, everybody's a suspect, even her. Like, I ain't feeling you too tough. So yeah, so I am going to end this here, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.